Hello, my name is James, and these are my partners, Joseph and Bushra. These are my partners, Joseph and Bushra. Today we're going to be talking about virtualization and the many benefits of using a virtual machine.
So before we begin, we must first learn about what is virtualization. So, what is virtualization?
Virtualization is the process of running two or more operating systems on one physical computer. Virtual machines are usually set up in one of two ways. Either by running multiple operating systems side by side on one physical computer. This is accomplished by using a hypervisor that will manage the two operating systems.
The other way virtual machines are usually set up is by having one operating system running another operating system inside of a program.
So now that we know about virtualization, we can begin to talk about the different virtual machine players, how to install them, and their uses.
I'm going to start out by comparing the most popular virtual machines available today in the market. There are many different virtualization or hypervisors available in the market today. Here are some of them. We're going to mainly focus on VMware because it's the most widely used virtual machine today, and since Microsoft's hypervisor is the second widely used hypervisor, I'll be comparing Microsoft's hypervisor with VMware's hypervisor. As you can see, there are many vendors that provide virtualization services. Vendors like VMware with their vSphere, Red Hat with Red Hat Enterprise Virtualization, Microsoft with their Windows Server Hyper-V, and Citrix with Zen Server. Now I'm going to talk about VMware. As you look at the market share for virtualization, you will see that VMware has an amazing 87% market share. As a result, you won't be surprised when you see the graph on the right of your screen. vSphere 5.5 is a product of VMware, and as you can see, it's dominating by a large margin. I'll be comparing this product with another popular hypervisor in just a bit. Now let's take a closer look at vSphere's 5.5 Enterprise in detail. If you plan or are hosting more than 100 hosts, you're required to buy an additional server licenses. The maximum physical RAM per host you could have is 4 TB. The maximum active virtual machines per host is 512 machines. Since the competitor to VMware at the current time is Microsoft with 15% market share, I'll be comparing Microsoft's virtual machine Hyper-V to the VMware's virtual machine vSphere. Now let's look at some of Hyper-V's features. Hyper-V comes with a license that allows you to manage up to 1,000 hosts. If you recall, when we looked at vSphere earlier, it only supported up to 100 hosts before having to buy additional licensing. The maximum physical RAM per host is support is the same as vSphere at 4 TB. The maximum active virtual machine is much higher though, with vSphere at 1024. In contrast, vSphere only supported 512 active machines. There are many different considerations an IT decision maker would make before selecting the right virtualization platform. Some of the considerations may include: do you need a hosted or bare metal hypervisor? Hosted is when multiple operating systems are able to run on top of the host. Bare metal is the capability of running multiple virtual machines parallel to each other without involving any host. The second consideration could be different kind of virtualization techniques. So that's like binary translation. It's the ability to change instructions on the go or on the fly. The other one is hardware assist. That's when it needs help from the CPU in order to make an efficient use of virtualization. And the third is what degree do you want your virtualization machine to be isolated from each other? Some hypervisor products guarantee that one operating system won't interfere with another operating system. This could be useful in terms of security. Also, another consideration, of course, is cost. If you're a smaller company on a budget, you'll probably be looking at Red Hat Enterprise Virtualization, which costs 50 to 80% less than VMware. Red Hat does not charge upfront licensing fee. In terms of cost, you might also consider training. The training will require, and of course, the return on investment. Other considerations may also include how much work will be required to get the hypervisor up and running. Some hypervisors are low level, which means they may require weeks or months of development, where some of them are out of the box, so you could just use them right in just a few hours. As you can see, there are many different vendors to choose from when it comes to virtualization. Each vendor products have their own pros and cons. You could choose the best solution for your company based on the company's requirement.
And now that Bushra has compared virtual machines, I'll be showing you how to install one, VMware. To download VMware, you'll have to go to this website, which will be posted in the video description. And once you get there, you'll have plenty of options, and you'll want to scroll down to the section called Desktop and End User Computing. At the very bottom there will be VMware Player, which is VMware's free virtual machine. You can hit download, and then it will give you options of the exe, and depending on what operating system you're using, you will choose the exe accordingly. I'm using Windows, so I'll download the Windows exe. So once VMware Player is installed, you'll want to create a new virtual machine. You can do this from a disk or a disk image file, and I'll be using a disk image file. Since it's a Windows installation, it requires the product key, but you don't necessarily have to type it yet, because you'll have to type it later anyways. Now you can change the name of the virtual machine to whatever name you want, and now you'll choose the requirements for the size of your virtual hard drive, and you'll want to keep this above the operating system requirements, but not too much, because it will take from your host computer. And now you can customize the hardware, and this there's not many options with the free version, but you can change the RAM to however low you want, because it will take from your host operating system. And then it will, for common operating systems, it performs an easy install, which will automatically install it for you. And now it will do that. Once your operating system is installed, you can play around with it. But since this is a free version of VMware, there's not much extra features you can use. But if you like this and want to try alternatives, you can try to upgrade to the VMware Workstation, or you could try Oracle VirtualBox, which is similar but with additional features.
Finally, I'm going to go over some current uses of virtual machines and what you can expect from them in the future. So now I'm going to talk about some current uses for virtual machines. A lot of people use it in their personal lives for accessing virus-infected files. So if you open a file, depending where you got it from, you might have downloaded it or someone gave it to you, and you don't feel too safe about it, you can open that file up inside of a virtual machine, and if it does happen to have a virus, that virus is contained within the virtual machine, and it will never get out there into your host system. So it's stuck there, and you can just delete that virtual machine and not have to worry about it. A lot of people try out different operating systems with virtual machines. So you can install a Linux virtual machine on top of a Windows, and you can learn Linux there and see if you like it, if you want to transition your whole host over to Linux, if you like it that much or not. Also, you can create a personal cloud computer with virtual machine. So if you leave your host on, you can have it so from your phone or your tablet, you can sign in, or you can remote connect and sign into your computer, into that virtual machine, and do anything you really need on it. It's pretty flexible. So in a corporate environment, virtual machines are used primarily to test software upgrades or any new configurations that might come out for the programs they're using on their employees. They might back up an entire operating system for an important employee that can't afford the risk of losing any special files that they might have, or they might use it to simulate networks to check that all the connections are working and nothing's airing out. So in the future, you can expect virtual machines to gain more popularity with the development in virtual desktop infrastructures, which is pretty much the ability to allow hundreds of users to sign into a remote desktop over any connection they might have. So what Citrix is doing with the Extend Desktop is that they're actually hosting your whole physical desktop on their server, and then you will be connecting to it through a virtual machine to that desktop and running any software you need, anything on that virtual machine that's going to be on their server. So you can just connect to that, and yeah. And then also with mass software distribution, it will allow software distributors to just package and install their software in the virtual machine, so there's no need for the end user to install a software anymore, and it'll just come ready out of the box to use for them to start running.